think that he was aware of some of the money that was required. Ultimately, the final number that I saw today was a bond ordinance for the amount of $694,000. The reason I've called for the special meeting is because, and I don't think that anyone here can take that lightly. That is $1 million more. As a matter of fact, they made Councilwoman DiGirolamo look like a Nostradamus, because when we sat here in July, she said this is not a $1.4 million job, this is a $2 million job. And she's right, that's what it appears to be. I think we need to sit with the engineer, we need to have a special meeting, the engineer needs to be here. This is the second time the numbers have come back over. I don't know where the money has gone yet, because I haven't had an opportunity to review all the paperwork with it just coming in yesterday. And I think that's the majority of the panel. I can't tell you that I'm going to approve $694,000 of the taxpayers' money, but I can't tell you that I'm not going to either.
How many bids did you receive?
2.
That's part of the problem. Nobody wants to do business with the town of Phillipsburg. I've spoken to the contractors. I deal with these contractors because the town of Phillipsburg does not pay their bills in a timely manner. That's part of the problem, and I don't understand why bills aren't being paid in a timely manner. So, somebody's got to get out there and start soliciting more bids somehow, some way, because there are contractors out there that need the work, and that's where your prices will come in lower than what you're receiving now.
Right.
I'll tell you, as a taxpayer, I'm disgusted with the way things are handled in this town. All of a sudden now, enforcement's going to do their job. How's that going to happen? Why hasn't enforcement been doing their job for the last 4 years?
Regarding.
And now all of a sudden, well, with the ordinances, that all because of rent control, and now they're going to try to, start nailing some of these issues with rentals and all these other properties. Listen, I've been in my house for 30 years. I've only ever had mice in my house twice. And the last time I had a mouse in my house was probably about 20 years ago. Now I've got all these vacant properties across from the municipal building that has rats. I had a rat run through my yard the other day. I caught 2 adult mice in my house and 5 babies in the last week. So you're having all these hearings. I have a house across the street from me, 31 Glen Avenue, that has been vacant for a couple of years. It was on fire. It got sold for $30-some thousand. They have not done one darn thing. It still sits there boarded up. It's part of the problem. So what's going to be done all of a sudden? Now that it's election time, now all of a sudden, things are going to happen? I don't see that happen.
I have to cut you off.
I know.
Because you've reached your 5 minutes.
Bill Timmon, 230 South Main Street. I made an initiative about a year ago, given to council members, mayor, clerk, passed it around. I'd like to make a motion that this come up at the next meeting and we start discussing it. This is going to solve our problem for housing. And with the Ingersoll project coming in, or bridge development, people are going to start looking for housing. This will give that, plus the impetus that Norwestcat is going to start, or making a move to try and help people on Section 8 to get affordable housing. This is a first step. I'm not saying it's a cure-all, but we got to start somewhere. And if we don't start somewhere, it's never going to happen. We've had 20 years of it going downhill, maybe more. It needs to stop. We need to stop the bleeding. We need to get the housing back up again. People interested in it. You're looking at investment for downtown. What about the rest of the town? As Paula said, she's had a house across the street that's been boarded up for 2 or 3 years. Why can't we get something moving? I mean, I've discussed this with a couple of you already.
We have placed some of that already and we already have, may I see the paper? Because I can point out to you what's already in our current ordinances, and I've discussed this already with Attorney Leonard a few times. So we've discussed, actually I discussed tax incentives with the mayor and Kevin Duddy last year. This is something that the administration would have to work on a process, and that's not an issue, but that's a function of the administration. Homesteading, we've also discussed, and I believe it was that already in our current ordinance.
No.
This wasn't. Which one was?
Relocation.
Certificate of conformity fee. The relocation expenses. We've also, I spoke with the mayor and Kevin Duddy on converting multi-family homes back into single-family homes. Property tax abatements we do currently have. We actually have that under commercial as well. The good neighbor ordinance we passed. We passed this.
Yeah, but it's not, you know, where is it? You know, again, we
Well,
have an ordinance that says after 3 complaints at a residence,
Right. Well,
you know, we're gonna start fining the property owner.
Mr. Timmon, I don't disagree with you. And again, a lot of what you brought me here, we have discussed, and I like a lot of what you brought me here as well. Some I don't, but it doesn't mean that we can't work on it. Again, I really think we have to put our heads back to the drawing board, because
Don't
you all
hang
my
on to it, because I have
personal
other copies. I
opinions.
mean, it's something that has to be started.
Well,
I'm not saying that's 100% cure-all, but, you know, the ordinance to start fining the property owner, the police have to go to a property 3 times. We have an ordinance to that effect. Why aren't they doing it?
this is what I would ask, Mr. Timmon. I'm not telling you that it shouldn't be done. But what I'm telling you is that council has no control
I understand that.
over the enforcement. What I would ask is that you reach out to the mayor's office, discuss it with the mayor, or even pull him aside after tonight's meeting and discuss it with him. That's what I would ask you to do.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you know, can we get this on the agenda to get something started?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'll have to discuss it with Attorney Leonard. I had rent control on the agenda. You see how well that went tonight?
Yeah, well, that was a lot of...
Oh, you weren't in favor of that. That's right.
That's right.
Mr. Timmon. That's right. That's right. We will discuss this. All
Thank
right. Thank you.
Councilman, Councilwoman, and Mayor. My name is Susanna Vaness, and I've lived in Phillipsburg for 10 years. I'm a little nervous,
Don't be.
but I am very, very upset with you, Mr. Mayor. I live next to a house. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You have to address me.
Okay,
It's okay.
I'm sorry. I live next to a house that was sitting there for almost 7, 8 years. No one took care of it. My neighbors and us had to cut the grass. Someone bought it in January, and it sat all the way till September. A family moved in. This is the roof, part of the roof. The house was never CO'd. The people are really bad people. We've never had any problem in our town. The police have been called to our town, to our block 5 times. The police know these people. I don't even want to live there anymore. I'm ashamed, because I worked hard to have my house, very hard. And me and my husband would like to retire one day and sell it and make a profit. I can't do that. No one's going to buy a house. You tell people that you live in Phillipsburg, they look at you like, terrible. And I'm ashamed. And there's an ordinance that doesn't even allow anyone to live in a house that doesn't have a CO in it. And they're living there. And no one can enforce it. This is an ordinance. It should be held. And I want to know why it's not being held.
And Ms. Vaness, you had reached out to me and we
Yes.
discussed the property.
And I appreciate all of you responding very much
It
so.
was, if I remember the address correctly,
272, I live at 272, the house lives at 270.
270 Shaker.
Right.
So here's what I would ask. Mayor, we do have a clause in chapter 464 in the rental properties ordinance that allows us to leverage and relocate residents if they're not in habitable
Right,
dwellings, right?
with a CO, with this.
Correct.
Right.
So if we can have the inspections department go out to 270 Schaefer Avenue, if there is no CO, if we can relocate the residents to another rental, and then place a lien against the property.
I just want to make sure that I'm living next to a house that I feel safe. I do not want a fire. I don't want any problems. I want to live comfortably. And I want a town that I feel safe in. I have driven around this town, garbage all over the place. People sitting on their porches, not even going to work. This is what we're attracting in Phillipsburg. And I'm sorry, I don't want you renting. I don't have a problem with that. But take care of your property. We're all a community. We should all work together.
Yes, ma'am, you have every right.
And I'm very, very angry because I worked hard to have what I have, and I'm ashamed of living there. And I want somebody to fix the problem. And I demand it to be fixed, not just for me, for everybody that lives in Phillipsburg. No one should have to live next to an abandoned building with rats like that poor woman. No one.
You're right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Here's the roof.
Rainy Park 459 Dealer Avenue. The train for Todd's is coming to Phillipsburg. It's coming on December 7th. It'll be coming through Phillipsburg at the bottom of Brainerd Street from 3 to 5, from 3 to 4. If everybody wants to come out. They're going to be coming down through the Washington Secondary line, and they'll meet at Brainerd Street. They're going to start at Washington and make their way down. Be on December 7th, on Saturday, December 7th. So if anyone wants to come down, watch the Norfolk Southern's Toy for Tots.
Oh, what time?
Phillipsburg will be from 3:05 to 4. It'll be in Stewartville from 2:10 to 2:40. I took a screenshot. I'll send to you, Danielle, so you can know when they're coming. And also, the new gym up in Phillipsburg, they need more members. Since Gold Gym is closed up. Burley's Gym up at Stockton. They need new members up there. I go there almost every day of the week.
Everybody better go join that gym.
Yeah, it's nice up there.
I joined the roof zone.
Yeah, but it's $25 a month.
Thank you. Dalpy,
Council, how's everybody? My name is Mike Dalpy. I'm a business agent and president of Laborers Local 3, servicing Warren County. On behalf of Laborers Local 3 and Local 78, I want to thank you very much for passing of the ordinance 2019-26. And on the second fold of my comment, I have a newfound respect for the monumental task that you people have in front of you, and hats off to you. I know I don't come into the room very often. I see what you put up with, what you have in front of you. I have a lot of the same thing within the local. And I hope the PLA that you passed, again, it should be a very positive thing for all involved. And again, thank you.
Very welcome, Mr. Dalpy. Thank you. Hello. That's okay.
My name is Deborah Tannhauser. I live at 67 Sickbray Street in Phillipsburg. I've been there 20 years, and the house next door to me, 65, has had one bunch of tenants after the other. The house is completely in disrepair, holes in the ceiling, holes in the floor. I understand the town might have a hold of it right now. I don't know exactly who does. They came and put a new front door on, but that's all they've done.
Folks, I just need y'all if you can, thank you.
That's it. And all they've done is put a new front door on. No, the trash was removed. They took a whole, I would say, a box truckload of trash out of that house. That finally gone. I can't even imagine how it all fit in that house, because it's only a one-bedroom house. But one after the other, they would come in and they would leave their trash behind. The landlord did nothing about it. He would re-rent it. I don't know about a CO, and I've never seen any McConville, in fact, in the 20 years. I I'm just hoping that something gets done, that something decent gets in there. I really can't, I'm afraid. I'm afraid, I'm afraid of rats, just like everyone else in here. Because the house has been so dilapidated.
This has been, they've been summoned for a habitability hearing on the request of Chief Hay through the mayor to the council. We are waiting, I believe, council has signed title, sir, is it title? So their process is moving, and unfortunately, the wheels of justice really do
I
turn
know they
slow.
go slowly, but
But-
I thought somebody was buying it when they came to put the door on, and maybe it was actually going to be some good news, but,
Well, it depends on who's buying it, right?
well, that's right.
Right.
And hopefully the tenants will be better too, because they've had, but it's not only the tenants, like you said, the landlords have to take control of what their tenants do and not let them get away with a lot of it.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
It's not just the landlords, the tenants have to be respectful of the property that they're.
What we will do is when we have them coming before council for the hearing, we will reach out to you. This
I
way you can be
appreciate
in
that.
attendance.
I said, I'm just very nervous. And I've loved living there, but I'm down hill, just like everyone in here is saying. Thank you.
I'm sorry, thank you.
Dustin Pierce, 111 Cigarette Street. So I'm really disappointed that the rent control didn't pass, just because, like Councilman Lutz said, we need a foundation. We need something to start somewhere. And you guys have been drafting this for a long time. Everybody could have, they all had a say in it. It could have, we could have passed something. Plus, it could have been a pilot program. We could have tried it out. I think it was written for 3 years. We could have tried it out, pilot program. And every year you reevaluated and you changed. It just seems like we're all about, we want change in this town, but we keep doing the same things over and over again and expect different results. That's really sad. Next thing, we have a lot of abandoned properties in this town. I think it's time that council adopts the habitability hearing meetings and they bring them all in and start doing it in sections. It's time that we start keeping them accountable, and I think it's time that you have a separate meeting, because I know they run long, and you do 2 or 3 at a time, or, you allocate them times and they come, because it'll cut down, you'll know the process of where they're going, and we won't have to keep doing this, we have to call the Board of Health, or, landlords and tenants, are living next door to abandoned people's roofs falling down and stuff like that. So I think that that's something that you guys should really adopt. Also, I think that it's time on Main Street that we go to like credit card and like money things like Easton does for their,
The meters?
yes, time to change things up. Most people don't have change on them anymore. I have change in my car because I have to go into Easton a lot. But, Easton can do it, why can't we? We've always been compared to Easton. Easton's a city, we keep getting compared. Well, why not take some things out of their playbook, like meters that take credit card, or, lights that actually shine onto our street and not onto buildings, So I think, I think that that's something. Also, I live on Cigarette Street. The Stockton lot is really bad. Like, there's dips and, it floods there all the time. So we have a parking lot behind our house that we have to pay to park. Still not lined, still not nothing, but I still gotta pay to park. But on weekends, the church gets to park there and it's not enforced. So if it's not gonna be enforced for one, then I'm just gonna start parking there. And when I get a ticket, I'm just gonna bring it to you guys to pay.
I'm not paying it, but you.
Well, I know. Well, it's just like when my car got flooded and they told me that they weren't gonna do a report because it was an act of God. Cigarette Street has never flooded like that, and I've lived here 27 years. And I've lived all over, and most of the time it's usually infrastructure. So it's time to get on that. Also, I'd like for council to adopt, or the mayor and all of you to adopt, like a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan of what you guys want to do. Because it seems like we pass ordinances or don't pass ordinance that like nobody really knows, where our direction is. I see one direction is redevelopment and I see one direction is trash. So where are we going in this? Thank you.
Thank you, Dustin. Is there anyone else?
David Morissette, 5 Fairview Heights, Phillipsburg, New Jersey. I added something just a moment ago. A resident mentioned the parking meters with the credit cards. I think that's a wonderful idea. One of the things we use in Bethlehem is you can also do it with your phone. And that way, if somebody happens to be at one of our eating establishments and their meter's running out, they can just kind of take their phone in and put a little bit of extra money in as they're enjoying their meal. Now, one of the things, in August, I actually came up before the council and stood at the podium here and thanked you profusely for passing a bond for the moving the police to the armory, and that was terrific. One reason or another didn't materialize. So I'm back up here again, thanking you again for getting the police to the armory. It's the right thing to do. And at a planning board meeting, something struck me, and a number of us at the planning board meeting. We're getting a marijuana dispensary, medical marijuana dispensary. And as part of that presentation, I think Councilwoman DeGirolamo and the mayor were there and saw a map. And the map, what it had, it was divided almost by voting districts, but it wasn't exactly. And the map had colors on it. And what the colors represented was the amount of crime and the safety in that particular area. And not surprisingly, Hillcrest was yellow. And yellow means very, very low crime. In fact, lower than your average suburban area, as well as the Hill area had very low crime. Down where they're putting the marijuana dispensary, that also was yellow. Now, what was red, interestingly enough, was the area down by the armory. That has high crime. So that is an excellent place for a police station. So I commend you for putting the police station there. And I think you might want to consider keeping the police station down by the armory. So, and the last comment I have is totally, I guess, unrelated. I understand that we're trying to get home ownership up here in Phillipsburg. But you're fighting a couple of battles. One of them was discussed with the rent control and discouraging investment, encouraging investment. Another factor you have to consider, a lot of millennials aren't buying houses now. The fact of the matter is, it used to be you would get a job and you would expect to work somewhere all your life. But today, in today's job market, young people are moving companies and changing jobs constantly. And more young people, an amazingly high percentage, I don't have the numbers in front of me, are renting. So rentals are going to be a fact of life. Whether you're in Atlanta, whether you're in New York, or whether you're in Phillipsburg. So there's no way you're going to eliminate rentals. I understand the idea of encouraging home ownership, but you've got a lot of things working against you, and you still need to have rentals and investors coming in and renting apartments. Thank you.
I have the greatest respect for anybody who runs for political office. No, I do. That doesn't mean I vote for you, but I do have respect for you. I respect the system. And one of the problems we have today is transparent. Oh, I didn't introduce I didn't introduce myself. I'm sorry. Reggie Heckman Street, Phillipsburg. We live in a time where there's a lot of lies. So transparency means we're going to need to shine the light on what's going on. And I believe that all of you, I sincerely believe all of you, may not be proud of the things you've done in the past, but We need to know the truth. So the $1 million anonymous donor, who is it? Does anyone on this, sitting up here know who that $1 million anonymous donor is that I read about, that I mentioned in a letter to the editor, that was supposed to be making a donation to the town to do work on the armory, for some programming over there, renovations, I'm not exactly sure of the details. That's what I read. It was a $1 million anonymous donor. And I think that the residents of this town should know who it is. Does anybody up here know who it is? Oh, I want to watch my timer. You don't have to answer.
Councilman Vice President.
I'm going to answer.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm not sure where the words anonymous donor came from, because actually I was on vacation. And I went back and spoke with the WFMZ journalist about where that term even came from. It was born from different press releases that went into WFMZ. So with that being said, we did have interested parties in the future of Phillipsburg in our communities. And at no particular time was there an amount. I don't think it ever came out of my mouth and our Councilman Lutz's mouth, because we were part of the redevelopment committee. It sure as heck came out of the campaign on the Democratic side's mouth. So as those words were pushed out, you can believe that I said that. You can believe he said that through his hospital stays. We discussed it, and I thought it was pretty terrible, as that we was going to try to do better things, but we took care of it, and I tried to be the voice of that. And I even said to that WFMZ journalist at my home on an unrelated interview about a phone call that took place that went into the folks that were involved in giving us a reward for that. But a phone call went in with such an astronomical amount of money that I said to that journalist, off the record, if this destroys the project of our community center, our future community center, where we are trying to rebirth 2 buildings that are sitting there rotting right now, along with the rest of the town, God help us, because we will never be able to come back from that. And I said that all before this even came out, because I wanted to be on record with that journalist. So if I ever had to go back in a situation like this, I can confidently say, I never said an amount of money. I never even used those words. But I can tell you this, your side did.
You mean the Democrats? Or FMZ, I'm sorry.
Not the Democrats. Oh, the Democratic campaign to elect Steve Ellis, J.P. Stettner, and Lee Clark.
Oh, they're the ones that said that there was $1 million anonymous donor.
Come on, they said a lot. You guys said a lot of things.
Hold on. I just thought I'd read that. Maybe I'm wrong. I have to go back and look at it. I thought
I saw more than
I thought at some point Councilman
Olber
had said something, had acknowledged something about $1 million anonymous donor.
The numbers were being thrown out there by everybody but us.
Okay.
We were trying to secure. We were trying.
Do I only have 30 seconds left?
No.
Oh, okay.
You've always been good to us, so
I have one other item.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. But no, it's good that we get this clarified.
Yeah, but I think the council president wants to weigh in here.
So if I may, I went back and watched the meeting, and I did say upwards of $1 million. I did say that.
From an anonymous donor?
I did say that, yes.
Okay. That's all, okay. But
No, I did say that.
But no, that's, I understand. But as far as anyone knows here, we have no $1 million anonymous donor.
No, we had, no. I don't know, what I'm saying is we did have a donor. The donor, it was relayed to me they wanted to remain anonymous, which we honored.
Right.
It is unfortunate that the donation was reduced by $450,000.
Okay.
Okay. The donation received was $300,000 to be used towards a community center. And we had...
So from $1 million it went to 750 and now we got 3.
Well, I said upwards of $1 million. I never said $1 million. Now, the news outlets reported $1 million. Actually, I think the news outlets even went as far as to say they were going to finance the whole thing, right? Fully funded. If you watch the interviews or if you watch the video, that never came out of our mouths. As a matter of fact, I have a recording of the meeting where it had come up, and I'd be more than happy to share that with you in full transparency, where not once did we ever say that there was $1 million or they were going to finance the whole thing. I'm more than happy to reveal who that was, since we've already received the donation. It hasn't been paid yet. Well, no, it hasn't. It's coming. It's not that it hasn't been paid yet.
Well, can you reveal it if the person says that the condition is that I remain anonymous? I just would like that everybody on council would know who that is and not just one person.
It's in our redevelopers agreement now.
Okay.
So sure, the Bridgepoint Logistics was the anonymous donor. And Bridgepoint Logistics worked with, yes.
Ingersoll.
Bridgepoint Logistics worked with our town engineer, and that was relayed to us via our town engineer that we would be receiving a $750,000 donation for the community center. What happened between then and now, I couldn't tell you, because it went from $750,000 to $150,000. And if it wasn't for the work of our town engineer, it would still be $150,000. According to the town engineer, he was able to negotiate and bring it back up to $300,000. Again, I did not call them. I did not speak with them. I would never look a gift horse in the mouth. I am very thankful for their donation. I couldn't praise Bridgepoint enough. They did not have to reach into their pockets to provide us anything. So I'm thankful.
Thank you for your answer.
You're very welcome.
The other issue is a company, a corporation, C-O-R-P, which I'm assuming is an abbreviation for corporation, C-O-R-P. My question for the council members and for Vicki, if she's ever heard of a company called Odin, O-D-E-N-W-E-I-L-E-R, O-D-E-N-W-E-I-L-E-R. Odenweiler, as I assume would be the pronunciation. Odenweiler Corp, C-O-R-P, which I assume is an abbreviation for corporation, with an address P.O. Box 22, Ringgoes, New Jersey. O-D-E-N-W-E-I-L-E-R. There's an alternate spelling, which is O-G-D, so Ogden, O-G-D. I've seen it spelled both ways, O-D-E-N and O-G-D-E-N. O-D-E-N, Weiler, and O-G-D-E-N, Ogdenweiler, with an address P.O. Box 22, Ringgoes, New Jersey. Has anyone ever heard of that corporation? Anyone? Okay. I called and got in writing from the New Jersey Department of Treasury that there is no corporation with that name in any of the records in the state of New Jersey. So, who it is, I don't know. Odenweiler or Ogdenweiler Corporation, P.O. Box 22, Ringgoes, New Jersey. The Department of Treasury that records the names of corporations